Metal fragments. Bacteria linked to fecal matter. Allergen warnings left off the label. All real. All recent. All butter. Not obscure brands. Names in your fridge right now. Names you'd have called safe 5 minutes ago. Butter feels like the last honest thing in the store. 1 or 2 ingredients, nothing to hide. You don't read the label, because why would you? That's the whole problem. The trouble with butter was never a strange chemical. It's quieter than that. It's the gap between what the front of the box promises and what's true on the back. The cow says small farm. The real maker is often a plant you've never heard of, filling a dozen brands at once. The word premium says better. Sometimes it just says pay more. So we read the recall records. We pulled the court filings. We compared ingredient lists word for word and followed the supply chain back from the shelf to the factory floor. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for before you buy butter again. We're counting down 9 butter brands to be careful with, then 5 that genuinely earn your trust. Let's start. Number 9. Country Crock. You've bought this thinking it was butter. It legally can't be called that. Millions of shoppers grab the Country Crock tub on autopilot. It sits in the same cold case as butter, wears the same golden color, and for a lot of families it's just been the butter for decades. That familiarity is the trap. Read the ingredients. The base is vegetable oil and water, not cream. It's a spread, closer to margarine than to anything a cow made. There's a reason it can never actually print the word butter as its name. In the US, a product only earns that word if it's made from cream, basically just churned milk fat. The moment oil and water take over, the law takes the word away. So the brand leans on the look, the color, and the shelf position to say butter, without ever being allowed to say it. And that swap costs you something. Most people reach for butter to get away from processed oils in the first place. They think they're choosing the simple, old-fashioned option. Instead, they've bought an oil blend in a costume, at a price that isn't much lower than the real thing. This is the spread going on your child's toast every morning. You thought you were avoiding the factory. You bought the factory. If a product this familiar can hide what it really is, what about the ones actively trying to fool you? Number 8. I can't believe it's not butter. The name is a confession disguised as a joke. It practically dares you to tell the difference. Shoppers who want a smarter option grab it, feel clever, and never look closer. But it says right there in the name that it isn't butter. And it isn't. Like the last one, this is a vegetable oil spread engineered in a factory to imitate the taste and feel of the real thing. So why did a whole generation buy it believing it was the healthier choice? Because that's how it was sold. For decades, not butter was marketed as the heart-smart swap, the responsible pick. But a spread is only as good as the oils inside it and how they're processed, and that story has shifted over the years. Not butter was never automatically better for you. It was reliably cheaper for them because oil costs a fraction of what cream costs. There's a hidden cost the moment you cook with it too. Oil-based spreads behave differently under heat. They can water out, splatter, and change how your eggs or your baking turn out, because there's no real milk fat doing the work. You never chose that trade. The name talked you out of reading the label that would have told you. The joke was on the shopper the whole time. Now leave the fake butter behind. The next names are the real thing, and that's where it gets uncomfortable. Number 7. Land O'Lakes go back to 2003. About 126,000 pounds of this butter get pulled from shelves across 22 states. The reason on the recall notice is metal. This is the butter families have trusted for generations. The bold packaging, the farm imagery, the all-American name that just feels dependable. Heritage is the whole promise. FDA recall records tell the rest. Land O'Lakes recalled its salted stick butter because it might have contained small fragments of metal. It sat in stores and refrigerators for weeks before it was pulled. Nobody was reported hurt, thankfully. Sit with one question the packaging never invites. How does metal get into butter at all? Because butter is a machine product. Cream runs through high-speed churns. Then firm butter is cut and shaped by metal blades and moving parts running for hours on end. When a blade chips or a part wears down, tiny fragments can break off into the product. It's rare. It's also not a freak accident. It's what happens when a little farm is actually a fast industrial line. There's a quieter modern catch, too. Land O'Lakes also sells a spreadable tub that blends butter with canola oil so it stays soft in the fridge. Real butter, mixed with oil, at a butter aisle price. Decades of trust and a warm name don't change the machinery underneath. The friendly logo and the factory floor are the same company. The next one is the brand people buy precisely because they think its values protect them. Number 6. Cabot Farmer Owned. Small co-op. Good values. So why did this butter get recalled for a bacteria found in waste? Cabot is the cooperative darling. New England roots. The kind of brand you feel good about supporting. Those values are the entire promise. In March 2025, the parent cooperative pulled about 1,700 pounds of its extra creamy premium butter after testing found elevated coliform, a bacteria whose presence is often linked to fecal contamination. Now this was a Class 3 recall, the lowest risk level. The company caught most of it fast. Only about 17 packages reached shoppers, and no one got sick. But the small size of it is exactly why it's worth understanding. What does coliform in butter actually signal? Usually a sanitation or water problem somewhere in production. In dairy country, it can trace back to water systems, equipment that wasn't fully cleaned, or a gap in the process. It's precisely the kind of thing routine testing exists to catch, which makes it precisely the kind of thing that slips through when everyone assumes a beloved brand doesn't need watching. Here's the uncomfortable part. The warmer you feel toward a brand, the less likely you are to check it. Trust is the exact moment our guard drops. That gap between the name on the front and the work behind it is about to get much wider. Number 5. Wegmans. Something most Wegmans loyalists don't know. Wegmans didn't make a lot of what carries the Wegmans name. The store has an almost cult-like following. Shoppers trust its house brand as much as any national name. The logic feels airtight. If Wegmans put its name on it, Wegmans stands behind every step. Then came 2022. Wegmans recalled its store brand lemon dill finishing butter over possible listeria contamination, a dangerous bacteria, especially for pregnant women, older adults, newborns, and anyone with a weakened immune system. Follow where that butter actually came from. Wegmans didn't produce it. A separate company made it, using dill from yet another supplier, and it was that supplier who flagged the listeria risk. The warning traveled up a chain the shopper never knew existed. This is how most store brands work. The retailer designs the label and sets the price, then hires an outside manufacturer to make the food. Your trusted store is often just the last stop on a supply chain it doesn't fully control, sometimes several companies deep. So picture that finishing butter melting over someone's dinner. The name on it was Wegmans. The hands that made it, and the mistake that reached it, belonged to companies the shopper will never be able to name. Keep that hidden maker idea in mind, because the next brand hides behind a word instead of a name. Number 4. Bunge European-Style Butter Blend. The company behind this one isn't a quaint European dairy. It's Bunge, a giant American agribusiness that mostly deals in grains and oils. That contrast is the whole point. European style sounds old, serious, and premium. It promises richer, higher quality butter, clearly worth the upgrade. So here's a question worth stopping on. What does European style legally require? Nothing. In the United States, the phrase has no legal definition at all, no rulebook. Any product can print it. It usually hints at slightly higher butter fat, which can genuinely improve flavor and baking, but the words themselves guarantee you nothing. In 2025, regulators flagged more than 64,000 pounds of a product sold as European-style butter blend, made by Bunge North America. The reason? The label failed to declare milk, a major allergen. It reached a Class 2 risk level and had been sold through outlets including online retailers. 2 failures are stacked inside that one recall. The first is that European style is marketing dressed up as a standard. The second is the quiet little word, blend. A blend can mix butter with oils or other ingredients, which is exactly why declaring allergens right matters so much, and exactly where this one broke. Picture who pays for that. A parent avoiding dairy for a severely allergic child reads the label, sees no milk warning, and feels safe. In a fancy-sounding blend, that missing line isn't a typo. It's the difference between a normal dinner and an emergency room. Now the warehouse brand almost everyone grabs without a second glance. Number 3. Kirkland Signature. You trust this brand enough to skip the label entirely. In 2024, the label was missing a warning that can send someone to the hospital. Costco's Kirkland signature is a shopping reflex. People toss it in the cart without looking, because it so rarely disappoints. That trust is the promise. Big brand quality, lower price, no need to read the fine print. The recall notice from late 2024 is blunt. Costco pulled roughly 79,200 pounds of Kirkland signature sweet cream butter, salted and unsalted, because the label was missing 3 words: contains milk. Butter is made from cream, so of course it contains milk. But milk is a major allergen, and the law requires it stated plainly. Leaving it off is a real danger to allergic families, who are trained to scan for exactly that line before they buy. So how does a mistake that basic get printed on 79,000 pounds of butter? That Kirkland butter was produced by an outside facility, not by Costco. When a big retailer relaunches or redesigns packaging, the allergen statement can get dropped in the shuffle, then printed and shipped by the ton before anyone catches it. It's not spoiled butter. It's a paperwork failure at industrial scale, which is arguably scarier, because the safety net was a single line of text that nobody double-checked. Would you have caught it? Neither did a billion-dollar company, on 79,000 pounds of its own butter. The next brand is the one health shoppers pay the biggest premium for, on purpose. Number 2. Kerrygold grass-fed. Pure, natural. You paid extra for those 3 words, so a California court was asked whether they were even true. Kerrygold is the crown of the premium shelf. Rich Irish butter, grass-fed cows, beloved by keto fans and health-focused families. Green fields, happy cows, pure and natural. People gladly pay several times the price of regular butter for it. A class action filed in California in 2018 alleged those labels were misleading. The claim, the cows are also fed grain and soy during parts of the year, especially when weather cuts the grass supply. So what does grass-fed actually promise? Less than shoppers imagine. There's no single enforced rule that the cows eat only grass, year-round for life. It can quietly mean mostly, and the label never shows you where that line falls. In fairness, Irish cows do graze more than most, and Kerrygold has defended its practices. But more than most is not the pure image printed on the wrapper. There's another chapter. Kerrygold was pulled from shelves in New York and California over state rules about forever chemicals in food packaging, and the company changed its wrapper in response. A separate lawsuit tied to that packaging was later dropped. Notice the pattern forming. Every premium word on that gorgeous foil, and the extra dollars you paid for it, rests on something looser than it sounds. Before we reach the biggest twist, one quick thing. If this is already changing how you look at your own fridge, that's the whole point, and it's worth sticking around for the 5 that actually pass the test. Which brings us to number 1. Number 1. Great value and private label butter. You've been paying extra for different wrappers. Stop on that, because it's the biggest twist in this whole investigation. The premium butter you reach for, and the cheap store butter you skip, often roll off the same production lines, at the same facility, on the same day. Sometimes the recipe is truly identical. Sometimes it's a small tweak in salt or butter fat, dialed in for each customer. Either way, the gap between them is almost never as wide as the gap in price. You picture each brand as its own little creamery. Different labels, different farms, different butter behind each wrapper. That's the story the packaging is built to tell. The story on the package runs one way, the factory runs another. A huge share of America's butter and dairy comes from a small number of very large contract manufacturers. One plant fills many different brand labels. That Kirkland butter from a minute ago, made by an outside facility. And in 2024, one dairy's milk was recalled under a whole list of store brands at once, including Walmart's Great Value line and other major retailers' house brands, all traced to the same single source. So run your own kitchen through this. The elegant tub you buy for guests and the plain one you'd never serve them may have started in the same churn, at most a minor speck apart, before the wrappers went on. You didn't necessarily pay double for better butter. Often you paid double for better graphic design. Running a dairy plant is expensive, so retailers rarely build their own. They contract it out. That same plant churns the value tub and the premium one, and the marketing team does the rest. That was the whole investigation. The problem was never one butter. It's a system built so you trust the front of the box and never turn it around. So how do you actually buy butter you can count on? Here are the 5 that earn it, and exactly why. The 5 worth buying. Number 5. Tillamook. Start with the everyday workhorse, and the proof is right on the back. Tillamook is a farmer-owned cooperative, widely available, and its regular butter lists just 2 ingredients: sweet cream and salt. That short list is the evidence. Almost nothing on the label can hide a surprise. No oils, no fillers, no vague natural flavor tucked at the bottom. Why do 2 ingredients matter so much? Because every extra ingredient is another door, another place for cost-cutting or mystery to slip in. 2 ingredients means what you see is what you get, and you can confirm it in 3 seconds. Put it through the same avoid list questions and it holds. A plain label with nothing to hide. A co-op that owns its own production rather than farming it out to a mystery plant. And no pattern of the recalls that dogged the names we warned about. The catch: you're not getting an organic or grass-fed promise here. If that's your whole reason for buying, this isn't your pick. And it's a large operation, so it carries the same watch the recall notices reality as any big brand. For real, straightforward butter you can find almost anywhere at a fair price. Though, it's an easy, honest call. Not perfect. Just clean, simple, and easy to check. Number 4. Trader Joe's. Here's the twist that ties the whole video together. A store brand can be one of the smartest buys in the aisle. Didn't we just spend 10 minutes on store brands going wrong? We did. So why recommend one now? Because the earlier store brand failures shared 2 traits: complexity and a hidden maker. A flavored finishing butter, a blend, a redesigned label with a dropped warning. Trader Joe's plain sweet cream butter has neither problem. It's usually just cream and salt. No oil, no fillers, no add-ins, and unlike the store brands that failed, there's no third-party flavor supplier or blend hiding in the chain. The proof was never the brand name on the front. It's the ingredient list on the back. Fewer ingredients, fewer places to bury a compromise, fewer things that can go wrong in production. What you give up? It tells you less about where the cream is sourced, and you can only buy it inside a Trader Joe's. For everyday real butter on a budget, a clean 2-ingredient block is genuinely one of the best decisions in the store. Number 3. Strauss Family Creamery. Remember the number 1 problem? The anonymous plant filling a dozen labels? This is the exact opposite, and that's the point. Strauss is a family creamery that sources organic milk from a tight, known group of farms. That structure is the evidence. Fewer farms means more accountability and a clear trail running from the cow all the way to the carton in your hand. Why does that traceability matter more than any label word? Because when a company can actually name its farms, a problem can be traced fast and fixed at the source, instead of vanishing into a giant shared supply chain where no one's quite sure where it started. The butter is certified organic, and the ingredient list stays simple. What you're really paying for is the one thing most brands can't give you: knowing where your food came from. The limitation is real. It's regional, mostly found on the West Coast, and it costs more than everyday butter. But if transparency is the goal, a creamery that can name its farms is very hard to beat. Number 2. Vital Farms. Run this brand through the same test we used on the avoid list. Who really makes it? What do its claims legally mean? And does anyone outside the company check? Vital Farms is built around pasture-raised sourcing, and here's the part that matters. It publishes the actual standard behind that word. How much outdoor space per hen and cow, what the pasture requirement is, how the farms are audited. Most brands print a claim and stop. This one hands you the rulebook and invites you to hold it to that rulebook. It also names its supply chain instead of hiding it. The company works with a known network of family farms and reports on them, which is the opposite of the anonymous plant we ended the avoid list on. When you can see the farms, a problem has somewhere to be traced. That combination is the case for it. A claim you can define, and a source you can follow. The cost of all that openness is, well, cost. Pasture-raised butter sits near the top of the shelf, and the pasture model is genuinely more expensive to run. Here, though, the premium buys you verifiable information, not just a pretty picture of a field. Number 1. Organic Valley. Almost every word we tore apart in this video answers to no one. This brand wins the top spot for one reason above all. It's the most transparent butter on the list, and it has an outside authority backing that up. Start with the transparency, because that's the real prize. Organic Valley is a farmer-owned cooperative that's unusually open about who its farmers actually are, where the milk comes from, and how the co-op works. That's the exact thing missing from nearly every brand we exposed, where the maker was hidden and the sourcing was a mystery. The certification is what makes the transparency trustworthy, instead of just talk. Its organic butter carries USDA Organic certification, a legal standard with real rules and real inspections. Think back over the avoid list. Premium, European style, even grass-fed. Those words are written by the seller. This one is checked by someone whose job is to verify it. So the ranking isn't, it's organic, therefore best. It's open about itself, and an outside inspector confirms the open story is true. Transparency leads. Certification proves it. The ingredient list is short too. Cream, plus salt in the salted version. Simple to read, easy to check. No brand is beyond question, and even good ones get challenged. That's fine, and it's honest. The point is that here, the promise on the box is one you can see behind, and someone else verifies. The downside is simple: price, and where you can find it. It costs more, and it isn't in every store. But after everything we've seen, a butter you can see into, confirmed by someone outside the company, is worth more than any golden wrapper. The real lesson. Think about the last time you actually bought butter. Did you read the ingredient list? Turn the box over? Check who made it? Or did you just recognize the wrapper, the color, the name you'd seen 100 times and drop it in the cart? Almost all of us do the second one. That's not a failure. It's exactly what the packaging is designed to make you do. And it's the whole reason this matters. So after all of this, what actually matters when you buy butter? Not the price. We saw cheap butter that's perfectly clean and expensive butter that's mostly a beautiful story. Not the fancy words, European style, pure, all natural, even made with butter, can each mean far less than they sound. Not even the reputation. Trusted, beloved names still recalled butter by the ton, for metal fragments, for bacteria, for missing allergen warnings that put families at risk. Here's what actually matters. Transparency. The best butter isn't the one with the prettiest box or the boldest health claim. It's the one that tells you the truth clearly, on the part of the package that's hardest to fake. The ingredient list and the sourcing. So here's your new rule, simple enough to remember in the aisle. Stop asking, is this the premium one? Start asking a better question. Can this brand clearly show me what's in it and where it came from? Clean butter is easy to read. Cream, maybe salt. A source you can actually look up. If a butter needs a pile of impressive words to sell itself, that's your cue to be suspicious. Next time you're standing in front of that cold case, do one small thing. Turn the box over before you decide to trust the front, because the front of the package was written by people who want to win you. The back of the package is where the truth quietly lives. So the real question was never which butter is the fanciest. It's this: which butter is honest enough to tell you what it really is? If this changed the way you'll shop, subscribe. One more butter myth is worth breaking next week.